Hello, and thank you for joining us for another episode of our Franchise Readiness series, where our goal is to help people considering business ownership understand the options and opportunities available and how franchising could be the right choice for them. I'm your host, Brian Woods. As Group Vice President of Franchise Development at Neighborly, I'm responsible for the 7 franchise brands in the repair cluster. I am proud to serve as co-chair of Neighborly's Diversity and Inclusion Committee. Prior to Neighborly, I was the Managing Director of Franchise Development for G6 Hospitality, the parent company of Motel 6 and Studio 6 Economy Hotels. While at G6, I was the first president of the Council of Diversity, Inclusion, and Equality, where I focused on diversity franchise recruitment. For today's webinar, I'm excited to be joined by Group President Brian Petronic. Brian leads Neighborly's repair cluster of brands, AirServe, Glass Doctor, Mr. Appliance, Mr. Electric, Mr. Handyman, Mr. Rooter Plumbing, and Precision Garage Door Service. Brian joined Neighborly after 2 decades in healthcare with Right at Home, a provider of in-home care for seniors and those with disabilities. He joined Right at Home in 2000 as Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, launching the Right at Home franchise system. Most recently as President and CEO, he led the growth of both the franchise and corporate-owned locations from a single office in Omaha, Nebraska, to more than 750 locations across 8 countries. Today, Brian joins us to discuss the trades industry, the impact of current trends, the benefits that come with choosing a Neighborly repair brand franchise, and why trades is the best-kept secret in home services. Welcome, Brian.
Great. It's great to be here.
So let's get started. Let's just talk about the trades industry as a whole, right? Like, what does the trade industry entail?
Yeah, so I think when people think about the trades, they tend to think about kind of what they think traditional trades, right? Mm-hmm. Heating and air, electrical, plumbing, maybe glass services, glazier services, general construction. So a lot of those brands exist within the repair group at Neighborly, which we already talked about, Mr. Electric, mm-hmm. Mr. Handyman, Mr. Rooter, AirServe. But when you look across the broader Neighborly platform, mm-hmm. we also have painting services and restoration and just a lot of things that fall into what would be considered trades or industries where it requires specific professionals taking care of systems within our homes.
Okay. So in general, let's talk about the shift in the actual home services space. And, one of the things that we've seen is this shift from do it yourself to do it for me. There was a time where, people would pull up YouTube and look at how to fix their own leaky faucet and, figure out how to do things themselves. But we've seen over time that many people are transitioning from that to just simply having someone, come and do it for them. So How has that shift impacted the trades business?
Yeah, that really started quite a long time ago, and it really started with the baby boomers, because that was a generation that came through, and they started building wealth and having success, and so that led to having some discretionary income. And if you think about kind of the growth of the baby boom generation and the growth of service industries, back in the 50s and 60s, everybody was changing their own oil, right? Mm-hmm. And then by the time we got to the 70s or 80s, there was all kinds of oil changing places out there. It just made more sense. 15 minutes, you're in or out. You don't have to deal with all of that. And that trend has really just continued as we've gone through these last decades. And it's also translated now to younger generations too. So a lot, the baby boomers started having kids. The kids started watching their parents deal with things this way. And I think both generations, baby boomers all the way down to millennials and Gen Y, all just value things, their time and quality of life over doing something. There's still certainly people that like to do projects, but by and large, you see a lot of people saying, look, I want to go spend time with my family. I want to spend time outside. I want to go for a hike. I want to do these things. And it's better for me to hire a professional to take care of these things in our house. Because we've all been there before, right? We go, we get these grandiose ideas. We're going to go fix this. And it's back and forth to the hardware store 15 times. We get the wrong stuff. We make mistakes. And then a lot of times we end up hiring somebody anyway. So I think we've all just kind of figured out over time that it just makes more sense to bring in professionals. They do a great job. It's efficient. And we get to really focus on the things that we value.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. So translating that to the business side, has that shift created growth opportunities for people who own businesses within the trades?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. because we see that shift. People are starting to spend more money on, or making the decision to bring professionals in to take care of these systems in their homes. Obviously, that creates more opportunity. But the other thing too is we think about just kind of statistically. There's, I think, 144 to 150 million, somewhere in that range, million homes in the U.S. Right, and I think the average age of those homes is somewhere in the 45 to 50-year-old range. So that means there's just a lot of opportunity. A lot of systems with those, a lot of air conditioning and plumbing and electrical systems, a lot of rooms to paint, just a lot of things that can happen over the course of time with those homes. So. As we just think about home ownership and all that's involved, and now we have a group of consumers who are really thinking, you know what, I'm just going to bring people in. It's the better way to do this. So it does create a really compelling opportunity for business owners looking to invest in in a business for the future.
Well, that seems very attractive in regards, at least from a growth perspective. But taking it up a level higher in regards to the attractiveness of trades as a whole, from your own perspective, what really makes this industry very attractive?
Yeah. So if I put on my entrepreneur hat, that hat of that person that's looking at investing into a business, you always want to invest in something that's got runway ahead of it, that's got a bright future, right? So some of the things we just talked about. So the shifting macro environmental things that are happening in society, and the do it yourself to have it do it for me, the number of homes out there, the number of systems that can fail and need to be replaced over time. So there's just a lot of opportunity ahead. But the other thing that I think is important for people to look at is there is actually a change occurring with really our younger generations now as they think about their career choices, right? So for a long time it was, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to get a 4-year degree and gosh knows whatever that's going to be, and potentially rack up a couple $100,000 worth of debt, and then that degree may or may not translate into something. But there's this resurgence now where there's a lot of people saying, wait a minute, why that path? There's a great opportunity. The trades provides a great opportunity in all of the trades that we've just talked about to really have a meaningful lifestyle and make a meaningful income. Be specialized in an area that can't be taken away from by AI and other things like that. So when I'm looking at it from an entrepreneurial hat standpoint, looking at something to invest in, I want to make sure that I've got runway ahead, that it's a bright future for the industry, and that if I'm relying on a workforce, that there's those shifting mindsets in that workforce, and there's opportunities to hire quality people, and even more so going forward.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about home improvement projects, and based from your experience and what you're seeing in the industry, can you describe 2 to 3 home improvement projects that's really driving, the trades industry? And for those, what type of opportunities can, franchise owners and business owners of the trades capitalize on?
Yeah. Great question. So, just generally, when we think of all the things we just mentioned already, a lot of homes out there, a lot of aging homes out there. I think with the environmental conditions that are occurring, people hanging on to homes a little bit longer. So that creates opportunities for, remodeling kitchens, remodeling bathrooms. We all know that there's a lot of value that can be gained in our home by especially kitchens and bathrooms. But within, the kind of the repair brands that I think about on a day-to-day basis, we also, for a lot of what we do, it's replacing systems that need to be replaced, right? Like if you live in a cold weather environment, you can't go without heat. If you live in a hot weather environment, you can't go without air conditioning. I mean, those things can be, life-threatening types of issues. So we do within the repair brands for sure. We focus a lot on just keeping the house running and make sure the plumbing's not backed up and all of those types of things. So, but also we participate. So if we're remodeling bathrooms, remodeling kitchen, there's opportunities for us to upgrade systems and do things like that as well.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So let's shift to the economy. It's always about the economy, right? And everyone is always watching the economy and how the economy plays within business. So from your perspective, how can shifts in the economy impact the trade space?
So, again, we just kind of talked a little bit about this already, but when we have these challenging times right now, and depending on which expert you listen to, we're in a recession, we're not in a recession, but we know that consumers are feeling these changes right now.
Mm-hmm.
So again, within the repair brands, we operate in spaces where we almost like to refer to it as recession resilient,
Okay.
right? So when your heat goes out, you have to get it fixed. You can't just say, especially if it's in the middle of winter, you can't just say, oh, we're going to worry about that in 6 months, right? So we see a lot of consumers still have to have our services, still have to have repairs done. Maybe a shift from, hey, I'm going to replace this system, the full system, to I'm going to just fix it and maintain it for another year or two and see how we feel about the kind of bit. But regardless, if your plumbing is backing up, you have to fix it. If your air conditioner is out, you have to fix it. So that's where that resiliency comes in with our industry, and another reason why people find this a compelling opportunity, because they see that.
Yeah, and in addition to that, from an economy perspective, you can look at rising interest rates. You can look at increasing home values, and these things are all kind of obstacles for people to invest in new homes. So what we're seeing is more people staying in their homes, investing in their homes, taking on those home improvement projects to pretty much improve their current place, right? A lot of people are happy with their current interest rate, is much higher than probably the last time that they had purchased a home. And these things all drive the motivation to repair and invest in their existing home.
Absolutely. And I'll add one other dimension to that too. I'll look back at my former industry, right? Mm-hmm. We have a lot of people in this country over the age of 65, and that number is going to double over the next 10 to 15, 20 years. And a lot of people, I think that if I remember the statistic, 95% of people want to stay in their home. They want to age in place, right? And so when you make that decision to age in place, you're going to, and a lot of those homes are older, right? So the families are making the decision to keep their seniors in their home. Mm-hmm. And that means, again, investing in the systems that they need, investing in upgrading the home and changing things around. So that's another dimension that adds to that as well, is just the whole aging in place economy right now.
No, definitely. So let's shift to franchising in general, right? And, for people who are, interested in franchising and they're not quite sure, what's the right franchise option for them, because we know, being in franchising, that there are a lot of different options when it comes to franchising, different industries, different brands. Yeah. But from your perspective, what makes Neighborly, especially a Neighborly trade brand, the right option for someone looking into franchising?
So, I think some of what we've already talked about, the opportunity that it presents, right? You always want to make sure that you're going into a business that's got, again, a bright runway ahead of it, or, bright skies ahead. But I think the other thing that really makes Neighborly and our brands compelling is first of all, like certainly within my repair brands, I've got 3 or 4 brands that are 30 years old.
Okay.
So that means there's just a lot of knowledge, a lot of expertise. We've been through a lot of economic cycles over that time period. We've seen the industry evolve. We've kept up with it. So there's just, within our teams, there's just a lot of knowledge. And then you have the whole franchise community. So when somebody's looking at investing in an opportunity, they get to look at a brand that's established, that's been around for, not and also just the brand recognition, right, of some of these things that have been around for a long time. So that makes it compelling. They get to come in, become part of this knowledge community and share with other owners. And then you take that up a notch, and then you add Neighborly to it, right? And so now you have this collection of experts in a variety of areas, from marketing and technology. You add 18 other brands to the mix. And so you get, not only do you get to learn within your brand, but you get to partner with get to know other franchise owners from other systems. We have our annual meeting coming up in a few weeks, and we'll see that play out there with thousands of franchise owners. So you get the benefit of not only the community that you're becoming a part of when you invest in one of the brands, but then you get the larger community and all the knowledge and the expertise and how we're positioning Neighborly and our brands for the future.
Yeah, and that's some really good, benefits and advantages. Out of those, what do you think really differentiates Neighborly from other brands? I'm sure other competitors have, different support systems and things like that, but, the ones that you feel really stand out for Neighborly over others, what do you think those would be?
I'll go back to brand recognition. A lot of brands have been around for a long time, so you're hard pressed to go into a community anywhere and not find people that have heard of Mr. Rooter or Molly Maid or AirServe, right? They're just brands that have been around for a long time and provided a lot of value to customers and families. And then again, Neighborly. We're building this Neighborly ecosystem. We have a vision for what that means for our consumers and the consumer journey. And so, as we think about not only our brands have a bright future, but Neighborly and the collection of our brands has a really bright future going forward, and how we're going to position ourselves within the marketplace and compete to really win with our customers and win within our communities.
Okay. No, that's perfect. And as I'm listening to you, I'm getting excited. I wish I can own one of our repair brands. But for someone that's listening, now they've heard how attractive this industry is, and how recession resilient it is. Now the most natural question next is, can I do this? Do I have the right skills to be able to operate and own a trades brand, even though I might not have that experience? So can you quickly talk about what do you think are some of the key traits and characteristics and any key experience that you need to be able to successfully operate one of these franchises?
Sure. Yeah, great. It's a great question. When questions like this come up, I think a lot about Ray Kroc, who everybody recognizes as the founder of the McDonald's franchise system. And I remember reading a long time ago, Ray Kroc at some point was asked, what makes McDonald's so successful? And this was probably 30 years ago. He answered this question, and he said, what makes the McDonald's franchise system so successful is we focused on teaching our franchise owners not how to make hamburgers, but how to run a business that makes hamburgers, right? And so that really is franchising at its core, is that, for that individual that's looking to invest, what franchising offers really is an opportunity, regardless of your background, to come in and partner with an organization who's gonna train you, who's gonna teach you the business, and from that, and then give you all, support you and give you all the tools, right? So you don't need to come in necessarily with background. What you need to bring is your talents, your passion, and your hard work. And then we'll help with our systems and our processes and our coaches and the systems that we've built, help you understand the day-to-day and how to manage teams that are providing these services versus you actually go out and providing those services yourself.
Yeah, and one of the things we like to say, right, in order to be a great business owner, even in the trades, you just need to be able to lead a team, manage the numbers, and be able to follow a system, right? Those
Absolutely.
are the three things that we like to make sure people understand that, hey, they can do this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, some of the trades that we have, such as Mr. Rooter Plumbing, Mr. Electric, AirServe, which is our HVAC company, you require a license. So is someone interested in one of these brands, do they have to come in with a license, or does Neighborly help them obtain one?
Yeah, they definitely don't have to come in with a license. There's pathways to get access to licenses, and it all varies a little bit from state to state and market to market to some degree. And so that's one of the reasons that, again, joining a franchise system and investing in a franchise system makes so much sense, because certainly within the Neighborly world and within my cluster, our brand teams are there to support and help our franchise owners get access to those licenses. But no, they definitely don't need to come in with that license. Over time, they may be able to get it if it makes sense, but there are certainly ways to have access to those licenses and be able to operate a business successfully, even if as the owner you don't ever actually get that license.
Okay. So now that I'm someone who's interested in it, now I know that I can do this, without having trades experience or not having a license. Now I want to know about the staff and technicians. How do I hire the right people to be able to do the work, since I know I won't be doing it? So how does Neighborly help, franchise owners identify and staff the qualified technicians that they need to run their business?
Yeah, it's another great question. So, when you think about, again, what we do on the brand teams and we support our franchise owners, we tend to think about all aspects of the business, right? Like, how do you get customers? How do you engage those customers? How do you provide the services? And an element of that is how do we find, recruit, and retain these quality service professionals? So we have programs and systems around that. We partner with specific vendors to help us from a recruiting standpoint and a retention standpoint. So all of those things are contemplated within the business model, just like we contemplate how do you run day to day, how do you actually get your technicians to the customer's home, how do you manage what's happening in the home. All of those things are contemplated in the model.
Okay, sounds good. So now that we've crystallized in how to run the business, I think it's always helpful to have some tangible examples,
Sure.
in regards to owners, because people need to see, the type of franchise owners we have, right? So can you describe a few examples of actual franchise owners in our trades brands?
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of three come to mind. The first one is Siobhan Woodard in Mr. Appliance, kind of in the Chicago area. Siobhan is a Navy vet, had a really successful career in the military, in the Navy, and even after getting out, had a successful career, with the American Legion in the state of Illinois. First member of her family to get a graduate degree. So, just a lot of success in her past, but became very, very interested in becoming a franchise owner, and found Mr. Appliance, and has gone on to do great things with Mr. Appliance as part of the neighborly system. Then I think of Doug Johns, also a veteran. Him and his wife Georgina up in the Portland area. Doug spent many years kind of in aircraft maintenance with the Air Force, and comes from a deep family. Similar background to me. I come from a family of aviation and military. I didn't go that route, but Doug has a very similar background to that. And then he left military service, goes on to have a really successful career, managing organizations globally, and then decided to join the Mr. Rooter system. And him and Georgina, I think, joined roughly around October of 21. And have just built a phenomenal business there. And then the third example that comes to mind is Chris and Chelsea Joseph, couple that met, young family, couple met in Kansas City, I think at Bible College. And then, Chris earned a master mechanical license. And at some point, they started dreaming of owning their own business, and specifically in HVAC. So they found their way to AirServe, invested in AirServe, became a part of that system. And so, when I think about those three owners, all of them have really cool, unique backgrounds, and all, a lot of success in the things that they did. And then they brought those unique journeys and those paths. None of them really having specific training in the trades or work in the trades, but have come in from all these different paths and have built really successful businesses within their brands and within the neighborly ecosystem.
So based off of those backgrounds and their success in the franchise brands that they're in, what do you think has really made them successful as owners? Like, do you think there's some common traits or trends that you may see between those three that can really show why they're being successful?
Yeah, I think you mentioned it. A little bit ago, right? Just their ability to come in and manage their teams, and manage the numbers of the business, and the systems and the processes, and looking for ways to improve and tweak on those things. How they engage customers, and the values that they build within their businesses. And then they bring their passion to it every day, and they work really hard.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that in addition to those owners, just from a diversity perspective of franchise ownership, it's worth noting that we're seeing private equity interest in the trades industry as well. I think there was a article released earlier this year that said that in 2023, Neighborly had about 400 million of private equity transactions specifically in the trades industry. So obviously, if the private equity groups are coming in, there's something there. Any comments on how the private equity interest has increased over the last year?
Yeah, I think that's it right there. I think you summarized it beautifully. I mean, these private equity companies, they know what they're doing. I mean, it's a lot of smart people, right? And so what they're recognizing exactly the things that we've talked about, the tailwinds, the opportunities that had the sort of the shifting in the mindset of our ability to recruit and retain really quality service professionals. So I mean, I think what they're bringing to the table, just recognizing this should sort of inform others that are investing in the industry. Wait, hey, if there's interest coming from this group, that means there's some real opportunity ahead.
Absolutely. So kind of rounding this out a little bit, just from your perspective, what's some advice you would give someone that's, looking into a trade franchise business? Are there any gems or words of wisdom you can provide to someone that's actually really looking at doing this, but just not quite sure if it's for them?
Yeah. I've been asked this question a lot over the course of my career, and I tend to answer it the same way. First and foremost, you want to invest in a business that you can be passionate about, right? You're not necessarily going to be out there, working on plumbing systems in a home, but you're going to have to manage an organization that's doing those things, right? So you want to be passionate about that. As we've talked about multiple times, you really do want to look for an industry or investing in something that's got a real, a lot of runway ahead, a real bright future. And I think we've, talked about that a lot today as to the opportunities that lie ahead. So, I always tell people, bring your passion, plan to work hard, because but it's really satisfying work also.
Okay. So in summary, give you a mic drop moment. So, just describe, 2 or 3 sentences why the trades industry is the best kept secret in franchising.
Well, it may not be a best kept secret after this, because we've talked about some of these. Again, I'm gonna go. Probably I've said it multiple times. The opportunity that lies ahead. There's just the stats. 150 million homes out there. Average age of those homes 40, 50 years old. People investing in their homes. The shift from DIY to do it for me. All of those things just really create a compelling opportunity for the future.
All right. Well, thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. When it comes to franchising, you have many options to consider. My hope is that after hearing today's webinar, you see the benefits of becoming the executive owner of a trades brand and consider a neighborly repair brand when exploring opportunities. There is no time like the present to take the leap into business ownership. If you're looking for more information about franchising with the Neighborly brand, you could visit our website at franchise.neighborly.com, or you can reach out to either of us. We are happy to help answer questions or get you connected to a member of our team. Before you go, I have a few quick reminders. A replay of this webinar will be available on our website for you to rewatch. We'll also provide the replay link via email for you to review and share with a friend. Watch your email for information on our next webinar, including how to register. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to connect with you all again soon.